It's a massive kit and it's got a lot of parts in it. It's absolutely beautiful. Hello, this is BJ from Hearns Hobbies, and as you can see, I can't really hide this one. I'm going to be having a look at another one of the big Trumpeter 1 to 200 scale ships. So this particular one was requested that I open up. Now this one is the mighty Bismarck. Okay, so this is 1 to 200 scale. Bring it back here, probably have a better idea of seeing everything. Okay, so as you can imagine, I mean, this is a full arm's length here. Actually, I didn't check how long the total thing is, but I'll find out in a moment. It is quite huge. So the Bismarck itself was part of the Bismarck class of ships from the German Navy in World War II. And these were the biggest battleships that were made during World War II in Europe. So they were built to compete against the French class of battleships. And they were built in, I think they first laid them down 1936, 1937, something like that. And then they were fully completed in 1940. So the Bismarck was the first of the ships in the Bismarck class, and then the second was the Trumpeter. That was the sister ship. Now they went out for raids in the Atlantic. I shouldn't say raids because they only did one raid with this particular ship. It was meant to go out and harass other naval ships. And when they went out for their first mission, so it was the Bismarck with the Prince Eugen, they encountered the hood and they destroyed the hood. And in the process, the hood was there with the Prince of Wales. Prince of Wales was damaged, retreated, and then they sent out the British fleet to chase her down. So I think it was a couple of days later, the Ark Royal launched some swordfish, torpedoes, stopped the steering from working, and the rest is history. Basically, the British fleet surrounded Bismarck and eventually hit it so many times that the crew decided to scuttle the ship, and it sank. So it wasn't actually destroyed by the attack by the British Navy. It was actually scuttled, and a lot of that evidence was found when Ballard found the ship in the late 80s, and they had a closer look at the wreck. Okay, so in the meantime, let me put this aside and we'll have a closer look inside. All right, let me put this up here. As you can see, it's a pretty tall box. Obvious thing to look at first would be, let's see, well, we've got the overhead camera here. Now, you can see how it's made up of these different compartments. You've got one box, actually you can't see that there, it's out of camera. Let me see if I move this around a bit. Okay, so you've got one big box here. You've got the hull in this white section here, little boxes, and another couple of boxes down the end here. I've got the manual, so let's just get the manual and some of this stuff out of the way. Put this over here. And then within this, this big one here, let's just pull the hull out because this is pretty impressive by itself. The hull is in two pieces. It's connected here. You can see from the front camera. Right, so you've got the main decking, and then you've got the hull itself. It's a full hull in one piece. And you see how it's one piece? You could quite easily make that radio controlled if you like. Okay, so from the top camera, you'll be able to see you've got your propeller areas here, 3 propellers, rudder sections, and it's all fully molded. Okay, but a lot of you won't be building this as radio control. I mean, it is an option if you plan to. And then along the top here, you can see all the individual planks. Got stairways as well. Let me see if I can just zoom that in, and you'll be able to have a closer look. Let's see if I can get that nice and sharp. And you can see all the individual planks there. So it's really nicely detailed. They do look very, very even, but I mean at this sort of scale, at 1 to 200, I mean it's going to be very difficult to make it look, I guess, more natural. But I guess with some weathering, you'll be able to get that looking pretty good. I mean, the other option is you could always get aftermarket wooden decks, and that'll give you more of the texture of the wood. But it's nothing that you couldn't paint in as well if you're careful enough. Okay, then as we come to the front, see over here is where the anchors would be going, and you've got the the long straights here for the chain. So there you go there. Let's see the other end. Looking at the stern. And looking on the side so you can see some of the portholes at the back. And there's a little hatch over here too. Where is that? I've missed it. No, I haven't gone far enough. Just see over here, a little hatch. Okay, so there's the hull. I'm guessing this is, well, it's about a metre from here. So it's about a 1.2 metres, I'd say, for overall length. You can see the beam, it's a very, very broad ship indeed. Okay, so that's the obvious hull parts. Let me pop that back, and then we'll start looking at each box at a time. Put it in here, keep it all safe. All right, I guess it makes sense to start with A box, which is the one with the letter A on it. Let me just pull this across here so I can get some more room. Let's get this back to the wide angle. Pull this out here. Okay, so I've got box number A, number, I shouldn't say number, letter A. I'll open that up. You can see just how thick these boxes are. Very broad carton. Okay, so what do we have here? So we've got parts of the funnel. Move this across so it's easier to see what's going on. So unfortunately, I'm not much of a ship expert, so I can't tell you exactly what these parts are. Let's just zoom in so you can see some more detail. This is something that I haven't done in some of the earlier open boxings. But you can see the details on the funnels. You can see the meshing across the sides. The two-piece. Okay, so I'll do a little bit of a tour around all the parts. And I'm sure the naval experts out there, or Bismarck aficionados, will be able to tell me what all these parts are. You know, you've got various gun mounts, I'd say, across here. Okay, so that's the first part of this sprue. So that's sprue G. Then over here, these will go across the bottom of the hull. Supports for the prop shafts. Not so sure what these bits are, but I'll do the same thing. I'll give you a tour again of the parts. So we'll start from this corner. Now there is something under all this foam here. It must be delicate from the foam them up. Let's see if I can sort of see what they are. They're quite fine components under here. Fortunately, I don't have a backlight to show you. We'll see those in the manual. And you can see these are the two stabilizers that go across the sides of the hull. These are your famous rudders. So these are the rudders that got damaged by the swordfish torpedo. They're the supports for the prop shafts, the left and the right. Actually, it's 3 prop shafts. Okay, so that's that part there. All right, this bag has 2 identical sprues in it. You've got some little launchers here. Some mast supports. A lot of small fittings that are all around the deck of the boat. Let's get that focus again. Okay, so it's going to be a bit difficult to see, but I mean, it's exactly the same thing inside with 2 sprues, one on top of the other. You can see the launches, and then some crane or some sort of tower construction. You see the mast supports. Okay, so there's two of the identical sprue there. Okay, so we've got some larger chunky parts. Sorry if it doesn't sound right if I'm saying chunky parts, but you've got gun emplacements here. So let's just zoom in on this one again. Okay, so it's part of the probably part of the superstructure, I'm guessing. A lot of fittings. You see those sort of rounded sections there? That would be gun emplacements. Okay, so that's one more sprue there. Then we have this part here. Okay, so again you've got the supports for the two outer prop shafts. Got some wall supports, tops of launches. So there's the top of the launch and there's the hull of the launch. Huge mast here. So two launches on this particular sprue. So let's have a closer look. Okay, so there's the mast. There's a smaller launch just towards the bottom there. And here's the larger launch. So that's the top of the larger launch. And there's the hull. Okay, there's that one there. All right, so you've got some bigger parts of the superstructure. Again, you've got gun emplacements. Here, here, here. Across here will be part of the superstructure. An upper deck. Let's get it closer. Okay, so you can see that there. Let's carefully scroll it across. There's another subdeck. Another again. Then we get into this larger decking area. Okay. Right over here we've got the identical. Yes, we've got another two identical sprue. And again, this has some launches. Let's have a look. Right, so you can see a lot of fittings, a lot of tiny fittings on this particular one. Launches here, you can imagine these are fairly big launches. Lots of small accessories. You can see an anchor there. Anchor right there. Okay. And we've got exactly the same thing again, I think. Oh, it's not exactly the same. No, they're exactly the same. L. This one is also L. Okay, so we've got exactly the same as we saw before. So we've got four sprues exactly the same. So a lot of those common parts. And then we finish off with the base. Okay, so if I move that around, you may be able to see that this is embossed with the Bismarck name. And then there's 3 components here, just to mount the hull onto. So nameplate and hull mounts. There'll be more parts to this because there'll be the base as well. Okay, so that's that box done. And just pop that aside. Now let's move on to B. So I've got B right here. Sort of skinnier box. Let's see what's inside. All right, lots of clear parts it looks like, and some turrets. Okay, so these look like searchlight moldings. And definitely lenses here. So here, these are tubular, and then these are lenses. Okay, so there's one, there's another one, 2. Then we've got some, oh, these are not turrets, but they are parts of a superstructure. We've got some more clear parts. That's identical to the first ones we looked at. And again, so 4 in total. Got the propellers. Then we've got some more superstructure parts. Some more little superstructure parts there. And then we've got the big turrets. Okay, so these are the main guns. So we've got 4 main guns. What were they again? Was that Anton, Bruno, Caesar, and Dora? Anton, is that right? Doesn't sound right, but it's coming to my mind at the moment. So have a closer look at these. Nice that the top parts here are all one piece. Okay, so there you go, we've got 4 of those large turrets. And then the rest in here is photo-etched, from what I can tell. Okay, so the packets are double-sided. So is that identical? That looks the same. The C? Yep, they're C etchings. They see ladders, railings. So this side is exactly the same. And then there's this couple of shafts here. 2 steel shafts, probably about 2 mil diameter. Another set of sprue. Different one on this side. So this is the A photo-etched. And this one is the B photo-etched. Okay, still more photo-etched coming along here. As you can imagine, the big ship is going to use a lot of this. Okay, so we've got some more stairs. So this is a D set. And this side we've got another D. Okay. This one here. It's another D. And again, so we've got 4 sheets of D. Okay. And then we've got all our massive amounts of side railings. Okay, so this is the E sheet. This will be all the way along the sides of the hull, the main deck. There's another one, that's exactly the same, that's the E sheet again. Okay, so we've got two, and what do we have here? Okay, so this is E again. And another E, so you've got 4 sheets of E. Okay, so let's just pop all this stuff back. So it's all very nicely well packed in here. The shafts. Okay, so this is the B box. Now from here we're going to move on to the C box. Here's the C box. Alright, so we've got a variety of sprue here with more turrets. So these will be the secondary armament, I think. Okay, so we've got... Okay, so we've got these 2 sprue sets here. There's 2 sprue in each pack, so there's 4 sets. If I zoom in, get back into focus. Okay, so you can see those turrets there. Okay, it's a twin gun. There's the base of the turret with the pivot. Got the barrels here. And then you've got another 2 here. Okay, so you've got 8 in total here of the guns. And then we have same sort of thing again. 2 sets of sprues. And these ones, I really don't know if they're turrets. They don't appear to be turrets. They could be. You think they would be. So you've got, there's 4 in this pack, so in total you have 8. It's probably third. Yeah, that's tertiary armament. So just underneath this foam here is actually, you've got the barrels within here. So the foam's there to protect them from any damage. You can see that there. Closer look. Okay, so there's 2 packets of that. All right, that was simple. So that's box C. All right, now we're going to go for E. Got E here. Oh, main gun. Bonus main gun. What is this? Okay, so this gives you an additional gun with full interior detail. Now I might as well cut that open and have a closer look at that. Let me get a knife. Okay. There's no knife, but I've got a blade. So let's just cut this open. Okay, so there's like a kit within a kit here. So you've got a new set of instruction manual. Got a clear turret so you can see the details. Here's your manual. You can see how detailed it is with all of the guns, armament on the inside, and then there's detail within each level of the elevator as well. You can see it progressively down here, which is really clever. So you'd even have this built and just replace one of the guns just to add interest, or you even paint half of the gun so it's visible from one side. It's really good. Okay, so of course, let's move this across, have a closer look at everything. Let's zoom in. Okay, so there's a clear turret. One of the main guns. Really nicely polished, so it is very clear. You can see my fingers through there quite easily. Okay. Now over here we have some photo etch. Variety of copper chain. Oh, these are the decals for the whole ship actually. See those markings? Okay, and then we've got metal barrel. Another metal barrel, okay, which makes sense because there's two barrels to this particular main gun. Okay, so you've got all your internal details. So these would be for all the different levels of the gun itself. There'll be ammunition in there as well. Here you can see the different floors. The round sections will be the different floors of each level of the gun. Then you can see that's the ammunition right here. Okay. And then there's another section of clear parts. And these are for the internal sections. So I guess like the tower parts of the gun, the internal structure. Okay. All right, so that's quite interesting. Getting that bonus part there. I just pop these all back into the box. Okay, so that was the E box. So we jumped to E, so we need to find D. This will probably be D, I'm hoping. So this is not a full box. It's a half box like this. Supported the E box. All right, let's see what's inside here. So it's got some Arados. So the Arado seaplanes. Now from memory they had 4. There's quite a lot of components to each plane. I mean, they were big as well. You got the floats there as well. Let's see how many packs have we got here. All right, so 4, so that makes sense. You got 2 packets. That's 4 Arados. Let's have a closer look. Okay, so you got your main fuselage here. Got the top of the fuselage here. And there's just a cockpit right there. You have your wings, and then here's the floats. And then inside here, what do we got? Okay, so underneath the protective foam are the propellers, and then also the undercarriage. There's just a little strut undercarriage with inside here. Okay, so there's the other sheet there. Let's see how nicely detailed all of this is. And just to see that compared to the size of my thumb, I mean that's a big aircraft, and they had 4 of these aircraft on this huge ship. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Alright, so in here we've got a variety of other bits, most of them which cannot be seen. Alright, so if I hold them up to the light for myself, you've got some railings and such. They're all covered up with this foam. So I'll zoom in here. Okay, so you can see most of these parts here. Little dome arrangement here, I'm not too sure what that is. Okay, so that's it for this particular box. And let's just get that back in the wide. All right, let's pop these back. so it lives over here. Now we're left with the F box, which is quite a large box. It's this one here. Okay, you can see it's pretty chunky. I think this will have a lot of the superstructure in it. Okay, let's have a closer look. All right, so we've got multiple parts here. Now, what I thought were the main guns were probably not the main guns, because we've got some massive barrels here. So they probably were the correct turrets. There's the base of the turrets. Just the guns themselves were in a separate sprue. So let's just zoom it in. Okay, so there's two identical sprue in here. Let me just try and straighten those up. Right, so you can see the guns there. These are probably the side supports for the guns for allowing them to elevate. Then you have the bases of the turrets right there. Okay, so we have two identical packets like that, which means we've got 4 in all, which makes sense for the 4 main guns for the armament. So we'll put that in there. All right, so we've got most of the superstructure coming up now. Okay, so you've got large chunky parts. Okay, so you got that part. Have this. You see the fine detail that we've managed to inject into the sides of these. These parts. Similar part here, which has been protected with some foam. Okay. Got this massive part here. Actually, maybe better if I zoom out for this one. Alright, so that's got a large piece. And we've got a large piece right here as well. Okay, so that's very impressive indeed. So that's all of the plastic parts that I've gone through. So I will just pack these up and we'll go through the manual, have a closer look. Okay, so that's the F box. Let's put that back over here. Now the manual, I think I've lost underneath the box here now. Let me just pick that up. Okay, there we go, I've got a manual. There is this sheet too. You can get additional photo etch if you like, with some additional brass parts. So that's an option for you when you buy. Now within the manual there's also a colour guide, and I'll have a look at this at the end. Okay, so there's a front page. Very exciting indeed. Okay, so a few the legend on how to read the symbols. Open it up. All right, first page is the legend for the main hull parts. Second page, again, legend of all the parts. And then the third page, legend of all the smaller parts. Okay, you do have all the photo etch all listed down the bottom here as well. And then construction starts with the main hull. Okay, let's see if I'll move this box out of the way because we've got a bit of a shadow. Okay, you've got your main hull. You've got those two stabilizing fins that I showed earlier. Rear end, you've got the rudder, famous rudder that got damaged by the swordfish torpedo. Front end of the bow, and then you've got the rudder there, 2 rudders and prop shafts going into place, and then there's a central screw going in as well. Okay, over here we've got these supports, which I actually thought were parts of the base, but they're not parts of the base. There's actually internal hull supports. Okay, so this will give it some structural integrity from squeezing. And then we start with the main deck, which was already shown in conjunction with the hull. Then you have the superstructure going into place. That was the last thing we saw. Step 4, you start building some of the smaller items. You got the anchor going together, a few of these capstans, intakes, quite a few different kinds of intakes, tubes, and training guns, and there's depth charges as well. Okay, so once you do that, we start fitting on some of the front end bow parts. You've got capstans and such going on. Again, additional capstans, vent tubes, and start working on the anchors. Get the anchors with the chain going through. Additional capstans. So you can imagine the decking on these would have just been covered in equipment. Right, so part 11. We have a lot more detail going within the center section of the deck. So we're moving forward or backwards from the bow. Again, the opposite side. And we start working on the stern section. So again, a lot of fittings. Additional fittings here. So we've got intakes, large intakes. And here's the depth charge mounts. So it's interesting when you hear about depth charges, you think they're going to be huge, but since it's a huge ship, they actually look absolutely tiny. They were just thrown overboard to protect against submarines. Okay, so more items on the stern. So a lot of these are PE parts. That's all the photo etch. Here we start assembling some more finer parts. We have the 37mm anti-aircraft guns. And then there's the 20mm guns. Here's a searchlight. So we saw all the clear parts for the searchlights before. The signal lamps, the whistle, observation sets, and the ship's bell. And then, oh, that's a little curve thing I couldn't work out before. So that's a radar. There's a catapult. So the catapult would have been for the Arados, for launching. And then we've got secondary radar, third radar, and the fourth radar. And then we've got the catapults getting mounted across the center of the deck. Photo etch components, some guns going in place. They're the 37mm anti-aircraft guns. Start work on the superstructure. Again, you have a lot of photo etched stairs going into place. Additional decking going on. A lot more fine fittings. An additional deck. Got some anti-aircraft guns, the 37mm. Another part of the deck going on to another decking again. This is the point where there was some observation posts mounted in these circular areas. And then we've got the funnel set up here. Another deck here, which will take some more guns. So you've got some larger guns here, the 4x20mm guns, and searchlight up the front. There's another deck across the top, and then more observation glasses across here. You've got your radar going into place, And then you've got radar 2 and radar 3. So these are all around the bridge. And then over here we start making the funnel. Okay, so there's a huge funnel. All the different decks going onto the funnel as well, and mounts for guns. So we've got more searchlights. So a total of 4 searchlights around the funnel. Oh, so those little curvy items were covers for the searchlights. There you go. Then we've got these little shed looking things. So we've built all our launchers. You've got all the launchers mounted on top of these little shed-like buildings. Got some more superstructure getting put into place. More searchlights again. 20mm anti-aircraft gun. And again on this side. Alright, so you got some supports going in place. Here's some more supports. These are for the larger launchers. And you see those getting constructed over here. We've got launch halves, the top half and the bottom half of the hull. Another observation area. So you can see this arrangement here. We've got all the boats in place. And then you have all the photo-etched stairs. We've got the masts getting built up now. So there's your main mast. That's going into place right here with radar number 4. The photo-etched, some other bits and pieces. Then you have your 2 sections of your superstructure getting put into place on top of there. And then we've got the sub-assemblies of the funnel and basically little boat houses on the sides. And then you have most of the superstructure built up. Okay, from there we're going to start making the armament. Okay, so these are 105mm guns. You've got the 150mm guns. You've got the crane here. And then you have your large primary guns here. Okay, so these are the section where you're just building up the display guns. And then of course there was that optional extra which we had a look at earlier with the clear section with the additional detail on the inside. So a lot of photo-etched going on there. And then we end up with all those sub-assemblies going into place. Okay, so you get your main guns. So 4 main guns. You've got your secondary 150mm guns going into place. And then there's 105mm guns. And then you've got the Arados here getting put together. It's interesting that they don't actually show you where the Arados are meant to go. I imagine they would have been across here with the catapult. But I'm not that familiar with the ship, so I couldn't really tell you. But you do get 4 of them, which is great. So if you want to make this into a diorama, it'll be a massive diorama. You'll probably have an Arado sitting in the water as well, waiting to be picked up by the crane. Okay, so there you go. That is, doesn't look as impressive when I do that. How about we do this? That is my open box review of the Trumpeter 1:200 scale Bismarck. And it's a massive kit and it's got a lot of parts in it. It's absolutely beautiful. So there you go. So if you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments below and I'll get to answer them as soon as I can. So thank you for watching.